Hello, hello, and welcome back to the E.G.C, the Erudite Games and Comics. And today on this video, I wanted to talk about Lanterns. Now, Lanterns is a new show of time recording coming out on August 16th. And it is a show that is going to be created and written by Chris Mundi, Damon Lindelof, and Tom King. Now, for me personally, I don't know how much each one is doing what and who's where. I'm just giving out what I see as who are the creators and writers. This is going to be on the James Gunn's universe. You know, the one with Superman, Supergirl, soon to be what's his name? Clayface, and all of the stuff that he's creating. But I wanted to talk about the trailer for Green Lantern. The reason why I never made a first one is because I made my channel after the first one, and it was a few weeks after. So I said no use of beating on a dead horse. I know they'll drop another one, which to no surprise to anyone, they did. So, but one of the things that there are many things I wanted to talk about, but long story short, before I get too further into it, I don't see me liking anything about the comic, but if you're here for the long run and you want to hear my reasons why, this is what this part's for. So, long story short, I just don't like it, and I don't see anything I will like about it. Now, John Stewart's first appearance, issue 87, very first appearance. He never showed up ever before. So this is old. So long story short of why he was needed is because Guy Gardner, who was actually the first reservist, that's another thing, because they keep calling him his replacement instead of a reservist, so they completely butchered his appearance. But Guy Gardner gets into an accident. He gets pretty severely injured in this one. He does come back, but he ends up becoming a vegetable completely. Talk about that later. But so the Guardians end up saying like, hey, we have another person, because just in case, because for his sector is very important for 2014. That's the sector that Hal Jordan's over, or essentially all Green Lantern, all Earth Green Lanterns are over the entire sector of 2014. And the whole point of the reserve thing is, hey, just in case he's in a whole nother sector because he's emergencyly needed, or he's incapacitated himself. So we need another lantern that's ready to go. So that's the whole point of Guy Gardner and John Stewart. And here, Guy Gardner, or not Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan is talking to the Guardian, and he's like, hey, you need to train him. So, he starts teaching them ropes, and at first, they don't really see eye to eye. They have very huge differences between each other. They do butt heads a lot, but it's not in like this ultra hatred thing that how it looks like in the show. Even though John seems like the calm one, we'll get to that in a second. But in the comic, they don't really get along. They really have kind of a fallout, but they kind of like start to work together, and they end up starting to work really well, which is very important. So because they actually do end up getting along pretty well. So in his first appearance, he wasn't in Marine Corps. He was only an architect. But obviously, continuity changed that. He was both a Marine Corps and an architect. How Jordan was never in the Air Force, but now he's in the Air Force. So I mean, everything always changes. But this part is like his beginning, his upbringing. He ends up getting better and all this. But but he had his own ring, which in the show they seem like and Hal Jordan and John Stewart are sharing a ring, which is weird because the only time that you ever see technically this sharing, which is not really sharing, is when Hal gives up his ring. Like he quits being a lantern. And but in those comics and all so I can't remember what issue, because I don't have the issue and never got so I have to search through all the walls of comics, to not my walls, comic book store walls of comics, to find which issue, I think it was in the 160 realm, is when Jon Stewart gave up being a Lantern, but Hal Jordan gave up being a Lantern completely. So they go back to Hal Jordan, or go back to the Guardians go back to Jon Stewart to give him his ring. And this is now, we're all the way in like issue 171. So now we're in like Sector 2814, which I've read all of Sector 2014, Volume 1 through 3, and Green Lantern Corps, Volume 1 through 3. Because, I'm trying to read all as much as I can for Green Lantern. So in that issue, they give Jon Stewart Hal's ring. So, Adam, Sir, Hal, and now to John. So Hal finds out pretty quickly that Jon Stewart is the new Green Lantern, and Jon Stewart throws away his mask, which is a very big thing because Hal Jordan is very positive on keeping a secret identity because Carol Ferris, the Ferris aircraft, and he doesn't want the publicity in his face. Jon Stewart has less care for that. He has a lot less care for that, and he almost essentially in the Sector 2014, he says, "I'm not wearing a mask," and that comes up with problem number two. Colin Watui was his trainer, not Hal, because Hal was in the Lantern. It was Colin Watui. Are they going to CGI or paint someone red and do that little hair that she has? Probably not. So they just said, "Here you go, Hal." But long story short of how Hal got back, again his ring back, because I will probably be covering just the entire Sector 2014 and the course in later issues, or in a later video. Sorry, mine's stuck on comics. On a later video, is how he got it is that there was a time crisis, needed everyone. Hal got temporary Green Lantern status, which was supposed to be temporary. Long story short, Tomare lost his life. His ring went to Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart was like, "I already have a ring," but yeah, it's like, "Nope, no, you don't, because that is Hal's ring." So Hal gets his old ring back. They never shared a ring ever. Now we can talk about Hal's attitude because that's something I really did not like. Really did not like. In no comic that I know of for that deals with Hal Jordan does he ever make counterfeit money. Ever. This man has been jobless, homeless, down on his luck, completely heartbroken and shattered. Never used his ring for evil. He's been mentally trained himself to always do good with the ring. He was always on watch from the Guardians because he always has to report stuff to the Guardians. He always has to, always side with everyone else because the Guardians can see this stuff happening and they will take notice of this. So how had no problem never breaking the rules because he just didn't. I mean, yes, he bent the rules or he questioned stuff. Yes, he did. Not saying he didn't do that because he definitely did. He did it a lot. But he never went out of his way to use his ring. I said his green, his ring for evil stuff, for anything from the smallest to the biggest, from petty theft to counterfeit money, which is, a felony and all this. But in the show they have him like he just doesn't care. He seems super reckless. He honestly, he kind of feels someone who's not deserving of the ring, and I could see that's kind of like how they want to go with it, but I think that's very wrong because Hal is extremely deserving of the ring. He is the best Green Lantern. Sorry every other Lantern fan, Hal Jordan is the number one. I mean, Jon Stewart is a very good Lantern. He has very good stories. In Sector 2814 Volume 2 and 3, he has extremely well good stories. Corpse, he has good stories, and in the later issues or later stuff, he also has good story. He has his own stuff. We don't need to polarize Hal for no apparent reason, because that's what it feels like. Like this attack Hal, and you just must be deserving of the ring. Another issue that I had was the scenery. Now, the scenery is so a quick thought, for people who don't really know, Hal Jordan is from Coast City, which is a made up city in California. I don't know if there's a name that is called Coast City now. I don't know. I don't live in California. So it was a made up city in California called Coast City. So beach area. Because he was around the beach area. He did have a beach area. It wasn't that far from the beach, probably like a 20-minute walk. And Jon Stewart is from Chicago. So the inner city. Why are we in a random landlocked state that looks like some kind of farm outskirts town? Like, I understand the story, it's a true crime detective thing, but I still don't understand why both of them are there. That makes zero sense to me. They're going to have to explain how they ended up right there, because I will never understand that. Now, um another major thing is, how is old? I know some people be like, will probably think like they don't really think that's a big deal, but to me it is a huge deal, because Jon Stewart and Hal have always been around the same age. Always. Like, one may be a little bit older, one may be a little bit younger. I mean, that's fine. That's natural. But in the show, it looks like there is a 30-year age gap. A whole 30, because in the show he looks like, Hal looks like he's pushing close to his 60s, and John looks like he's in his mid 20s. So I don't understand that. Obviously, I talked about Hal's attitude. John's attitude is also very weird. He seems very extreme and cocky. I know I said he seemed cocky at the beginning, but not in the same way. The way how he acts in the show seems like, oh, I got this. Just hand me the ring and I can take care of everything. How he was cocky in the comics was more of like, oh, I can do anything I want, but he doesn't really understand the things that he has to face. But when he faces these things, he's like, okay, let me more cool head myself. And because he's a very good thinker, I mean, all the lanterns are very good thinkers, not in a detective way, just good on their feet. But and John, he fixes himself pretty quickly, or I mean, baby steps. But to me, he fixes himself pretty nicely and pretty well in the comics. In the show, I don't see that. I feel like he's just wanting to take the ring and just do whatever he wants. So I don't really get the same kind of feel for him, and so I think it's weird for that. Um, Another thing is, of course, I mean, everyone has always talked about the suit. I don't like the suit either. I mean, what is there to like about it? It's brown. Like, I feel like Green Lantern is one of the few characters in all of characters of all kinds of shows where their color actually matters. It's called Green Lanterns, not Yellow Lantern, Brown Lantern, the Sapphire Lanterns, Indigo. None of them. It Because I mean, you have all these different variations, the whole color spectrum. So color to me really does matter in Green Lantern, like heavily. It's like Batman wearing like polka dotted pink and yellow, but he's supposed to be the this kind of hard fighting villain that always fights at night, but he's like wearing like lime green, or he's wearing lime yellow and something like more glittery pink or something. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit his character, and I don't understand. Uh, what's the whole true crime, which is another thing, that is something I do not like either, because there are way better characters that's in the DC universe themselves that they could have used. Like the three that always comes to mind when I think of detectives. I mean, of course, there are many others, but three quick ones is the Question. His whole spill is fighting crime. He has no superpowers, and he's not like Batman. He's not super rich, so he doesn't have all these gadgets and stuff. So, crime fighter, detective, the Question, Red Robin, which is Tim Drake. He's a good detective, very, very good detective. Or the world's greatest detective, Batman himself. I would have preferred any of those three. Like, I think using Tim Drake to do detective stuff would have been really cool because, we don't get Tim Drake, and this would be a great way to promote Tim Drake, Robin. Um, we don't ever get the question outside of the DC animated universe, which, thank you for using them. But I mean, besides that, we don't get the question. So using space cops, military, soldier, Green Lantern people is kind of the worst idea to use for detectives because they are more of, the sector, the universe protectors. They're not always on Earth. A lot of their missions or things given from the Guardians always deal or might mainly deal outside of the Earth on a whole nother planet that majority of people don't even know exist in the unknown universe. And so I think that was pretty weird. But that is pretty much my quick synopsis of, you know, lanterns. So there's so many things that are different, but I do understand that there are many different variations of Green Lantern. His story's been rewritten, and that's kind of the whole point of me reading it. I like to understand. I don't like to see it from beginning to end, but in all of the comics, I mean, Hal and John never really acted like that, and the age gap. The age gap is like I won't understand that. But my predictions for this show is, I mean, obviously you will hear, oh, I won't. The only way that you'll get this ring from me is over my dead body. Blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay. So my predictions would be Sinestro never got in trouble by the Guardians. Never happened. Because in the original, the first time we ever meet Sinestro, he was always evil. He was already the renegade Green Lantern, and he crafted his own yellow ring on his own in the Court universe. In the more Emerald Dawn, which is more closer towards, actually it is the more New 52. Hal Jordan was under Sinestro, but he wasn't even under there for long because, kind of understood that when they went back to his home planet or Sinestro's home planet in Cougar, it was a whole dictatorship and he got caught in this whole mess, ended up telling the Guardians and all of this, and Sinestro got banned. So the same thing happened. In the show, I don't think that happened. I think in the show, Hal Jordan will be more likely to side with Sinestro, and like he would think that he's right and all this. And from there, because we also in the trailer we get the I'll be a better Leonard than he ever could, which makes me is why I think that. And then it's going to be up to John Stewart to fight off Hal Jordan and Sinestro at the same time, and then Sinestro might leave, and Hal Jordan, he will either die or he will die. Like, oh no, we thought he was dead, and then introduction to the parallax, which is going to probably be all completely wrong. It's probably going to be some man-made thing. It's going to be really dumb. I guarantee it. But that's me reaching to think if the parallax is there. If not, they're just going to kill him off in the first season, or he's going to be essentially John Stewart Sinestro, which is also weird because you could just use Sinestro. There are also many different villains that Green Lantern could fight, either John Stewart or Hal Jordan. But like I said, those are my kind of gripes and complaints. I didn't really talk on the suit that much. It's just ugly. The ring with the yellow impurity. I mean, if you read the old comics, you literally see it almost every issue. Sometimes you might see it twice, but due to the impurity of the Green Lantern, you have control over everything that isn't yellow. Mind blowing, I know. We can't follow that for Hal and John, but for some reason we can follow it for Guy Gardner. Which Also brings up, why does Guy Gardner have his own ring, but Hal and John don't? Anyways, those are my gripes, complaints, and whines for that. Which, as you can tell, I'm probably not gonna watch it. I will try to watch at least 2 episodes, or at least try to do episode by episode, because I do want to talk about the show and compare it to the comics, because that's what I'm doing with the movies, and that's what I want to do with the show. So, but as usual, put your thoughts. If you do plan on, if you're excited for it and you do plan on it and you think I'm being too harsh, let me know down in the comments. I'm definitely willing to have the debate. Obviously, I love Green Lantern, so I would definitely love to talk about Green Lantern all day. If you agree with me and there are reasons that you think I should have talked about more about why you didn't like it, which, I probably do agree with you, put it down in the comments below. Definitely would love to talk about some Green Lantern. So tell me if you want to if you're planning on watching it. Tell me if you don't plan on watching it. You don't have to make a paragraph. A couple words is fine for me. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But as usual, be well, be easy, stay safe, and have a good one.